So today the new server Oakwynd has been announced. It will come out in May, and there are a couple interesting aspects of the server. Unfortunately, as of now, they are not doing the random tradable loot. They're doing what's called an evolving rule set progression server. So there are some cool aspects, like when you get your first max level character, you'll get an experience bonus on your second character of 10%. When that second character also maxes, then you get 20% for your third character. So basically, once you get that first max level character in the expansion, it makes leveling alts up a lot easier on that account. There are a lot of expansion specific bonuses that unlock. For example, in the Runes of Kunark, they got a loot modifier of 125%. Valius launches 125% on the faction modifier, and it keeps going on, adding perks and adding to those perks. And then, for example, in Omens of War, the rare spawn modifier goes up to 200%. The other thing is with true boxing, it will start as a true box server, but at Omens of War, it will lax, and you'll be able to do 3 per PC, and then eventually it will be completely unlocked. On to the somewhat bad news, maybe good news, depending on what side of the equation you're on. They are going to introduce something they're calling encounter locking. And if you've ever played World of Warcraft, they used to have encounter locks on. Before one of their latest expansions, they removed it again so that everybody could get credit, for example, for hitting a quest NPC. But what that did is, if you played World of Warcraft, you're familiar that when someone actually does the initial damage to a mob, it turns gray. No matter what someone else does to, whether they hit them, cause more damage, yada, 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 that first person to engage that encounter and their group will be the only one that gets credit for the kill. They'll get all the loot and they'll get all the experience. Everquest has decided to take that one step further. So what this reads is once the NPC is engaged, it'll be locked to that character group or raid, and characters that are not part of that lock cannot contribute damage. Spells from outside characters will not land on the NPC. If an actively locked NPC loses aggro for a short time period, the NPC will go home, reset, then unlock. So what does that mean for power leveling? Well, for the most part, all the power leveling I did will pretty much be voided out in the way that I've done it, and all that AE group power leveling that you see people selling is completely gone.
What?
It's gone. It's all gone.
And the reason's simple: the enchanters will not be able to cast any spells on already engaged or encounter locked. Nobody outside, like if you look at some of my power leveling videos, I use outside damage to help kill the mob. That's no longer a thing, as you'll not be able to damage the mobs that are in encounter locks. The one thing that I think we'll still be able to do, and I'm not sure because it didn't really specify, is you'll be able to still buff those characters and heal those characters. So what I think we're going to probably end up doing is going back to the old-fashioned damage shield leveling, which is kind of how my power leveling works anyways, except I use an outside group to handle all the damage mitigation. So basically, you should still be able to pull aggro off of something that's encounter locked, unless the NPC is just going to ignore you, or they're going to restrict it so you can't actually heal characters from outside the group while encounter locked. That's not something that's been talked about or discussed yet, so I'm not exactly sure, but I'm assuming you're still going to be able to heal outside of the group. So if you have a group that you're power leveling or a character and they engage, they get the encounter lock, you should still be able to heal that character, pull aggro to you or your group or some outside force. Just none of your spells are going to land. They're not going to do any damage, but I'm guessing that they're not going to be able to stop heal aggro. So if you look at how my power leveling videos are set up, I basically use a high level enchanter to AE Wind of Tishania, and that holds aggro on the enchanter, and then inside of my group I have a bard damage to running a druid damage shield and a shit ton of healing, so that group can never wipe, and it always holds aggro over the characters that I'm power leveling. Now obviously AE Tishania is not going to land. Bard spells outside of the lock are not going to land. I'm guessing that they won't be able to prevent heals. That will be interesting if they do prevent outside sources from healing that's not within the group or the raid. That will get her pretty much almost all power leveling, and then that will put us relying on just what buffs we can get on ourselves and what damage shields we can get ourselves and what we can survive inside the group. If they allow characters to be healed from the outside, then we can still power level pretty efficiently using almost all the same strategies I use. You'll just have to rely more on the heal aggro instead of the AE aggro that I use off the Bard and off Wind of Tishania. Most of my power leveling stuff will still be good. However, all the power leveling services with those enchanter stuns and anybody else that has to go out and pull anything is gone, because they will get the encounter lock. If it doesn't do the characters you're power leveling any good, you're going to have to initiate the aggro or the encounter from a character that you want the experience on, and that's not normally how any of that power leveling is done. It's still going to make a big difference in my power leveling because I usually gather stuff up with a high level character and bring it back for some AE. So it's going to pretty much go back to traditional before we had all these superpowers, and you're going to have to use heal aggro to pull it off the character and make sure that that group stays alive. And then you should be able to get the mob hitting you. I don't know if an encounter locked NPC is going to be able to take damage shield damage from an outside group. That's still another unknown. So try to keep track of this and see what the rule set evolves to. The very disappointing thing is that it's not random loot. It's not tradable loot. So all that fun stuff from Mischief TLP is not going to be in this one. However, some of the expansion unlock bonuses with the loot modifiers, the faction modifiers, experience modifiers, they got coin drop modifiers, they have lower spawn timers, and there's things like that might kind of get you that increased loot, increased coin, increased rare spawning that might actually help get loot. But then we're still going to be stuck with people ninjaing mobs and trying to get that very first hit, that first engage.
I finally ninja!
We're gonna have a really tough time competing with the chrono farmers and the camp farmers. There's gonna be no random loot and stuff isn't gonna be tradable. So I think that part is gonna be actually pretty pathetic. They should at least make it tradable. But then if there's not random tradable loot, maybe 3 months isn't even enough time for Plains of Power expansion. That's where we're at. That's where they have it announced just today. And I will stay on it, and I will be generating some ideas on how we're going to level, how we're going to tackle the power leveling aspect, and the multi-boxing aspect of the Oakwynd server. That's all I have for you today, and thanks for watching. We got P99, we got TLP, we got private servers and tests that's free. Some of us pay, some of us don't, some of us play, some of us won't. Did you just break my mess? Did you just train me? Did you just miss a healing? Are you gonna rest me? And please I need a sow, and please I need a rest. Please I need that sword, I'll take what you got.